So, obviously last week happened and we might have started off the season with a defeat against Brentford. Should be time to melt down, right, I guess. Things are not looking so good. But things are starting to look up this week with some good news off the field, which we'll cover, especially considering Martin Odegaard has now signed for the club. There have been positive discussions with Sheffield United as well, and it looks like we're going to sign Aaron Ramsdale finally. And there's a little game against Chelsea to look forward to on Sunday as well. Once again, I'm Wayne. Welcome to the Wayne's World channel. I appreciate you for clicking on the video and watching. If you have been enjoying the content so far, feel free to hit that like button down below. And if you are new around these parts, feel free to hit that subscribe button as well. As well as covering some of the news, we'll be doing our Arsenal review predicted 11 ahead of the Chelsea game. So how about we run that intro and let's get into it. So starting off with a massive piece of positive news, Arsenal have announced the signing of Martin Odegaard on a permanent transfer. The fee is reported to be around about £30 million and he's going to be wearing the number 8 shirt for this season. It seemed to be a toss-up all summer long between James Maddison and Odegaard, and I'm glad we finally got a 10 sorted for the season. Whilst part of me is quite disappointed that it wasn't James Maddison that we signed, I'm really happy we've managed to bring a 10 in through the door. And as we saw at times throughout his loan spell last season, Odegaard is a really talented player as well. At times, some of the football with him, Smith Rowe, Saka, we look like we're starting to gel and really starting to click, especially Pepe on that right-hand side. It looked like Odegaard and him struck up a really nice relationship on the pitch. So here's hoping he can have an impact straight away. We're aware due to visa issues he's not going to start or play any part against Chelsea. Hopefully we'll see his second debut against West Brom midweek in the Cup. The second Willy won't he of the summer came down to Aaron Ramsdale. And it looks like Arsenal have finally got their man making breakthroughs for a deal of around about £24 million before add-ons for the Sheffield United goalkeeper. It seems as though Ramsdale is definitely being brought in to become our number one at some point. And in my opinion, with the way that Leno's been playing recently, it wouldn't surprise me if Ramsdale was number one by the end of the year. Well, Odegaard's already been announced. We'll be looking out on Arsenal.com for more information about Ramsdale, but Arteta all but confirmed the news himself during the press conference today. On behalf of all the fans, I'm sure we will welcome Odegaard and we welcome Ramsdale with open arms. Welcome to the Arsenal. We look forward to seeing you on the pitch. Earlier on in the video, I mentioned the poor result against Brentford to start off the season. A 2-0 loss against a newly promoted side and a pretty poor performance all round is something that you really don't want to kick off the season. So we'll be looking at bouncing straight back against Chelsea. Our preparation for the Brentford game seems to have been hampered somewhat by a COVID outbreak in the camp, with the likes of Lacazette, Aubameyang, Runnison and Willian all coming down with COVID-19. There have been a lot of rumours all summer about the future of all 4 players, but first of all, I want to send some well wishes to make sure that they are doing okay. Obviously, this pandemic is nothing to joke about, so fingers crossed they can make a speedy recovery. There's a possibility we see Aubameyang on the pitch to start against Chelsea. However, I'm not 100% certain we'll see him maybe on the bench if things go well. He's probably not had a full week's worth of training yet. Now with the likes of Odegaard and Ramsdale, alongside White, Lokonga and Tavares all signed up, we brought in 5 very good profiles at really good ages, thinking forward to the future with them. We've shown some really good planning with these signings, but with 11 days left in the transfer window, I'll still be hoping for 1 or 2 more. At right back, we're seemingly quite a bit short still of quality rather than quantity. Our midfield is still quite unreliable given the fact that 1 injury now to Lokonga or Xhaka means we're down to El Neni starting meaningful games. And there are a lot of questions up front, especially with the future of Lacazette. Potentially he's leaving this summer, and will Aubameyang actually get back to his good form? So there's 3 core positions right there that I think we need to try and address towards the end of the window. Knowing Arsenal, I'm not sure we will. Feel free to let me know in the comment section down below which players or which positions you think we should be targeting primarily. So that just about sums up the news for this week. Now let's jump into previewing the Chelsea game and talk a little bit about the 11 that I think Mikel Arteta might select. As mentioned last week, I am taking part in the ArsenalReview.com competition for the duration of the season to try and win some cool cash prizes. Last week I scored 10 points out of 11, so a strong start. The only one I got wrong was Balogun not starting ahead of Saka, who I had in my prediction. Now, the first thing you might notice on screen is I've switched up the formation because I think that's what Arteta's going to do. Last week, I had us lined up in the 4-2-3-1, and I think we'll switch to a back three this week just to try and nullify Chelsea's threat. During the pre-season friendly against Chelsea in the Mind series earlier this month, we saw Arsenal play with the back four, and we really got exposed with a high line against the likes of Werner and Havertz on the counter-attack in particular. I also remember Hudson-Odoi having a fantastic game down that left-hand side while he was on, so I think we'll try to nullify that threat and counter them by just matching them up formation-wise for this game. Also, when you consider the success that we had against Chelsea in the FA Cup final, as well as the success that we had against them at Stamford Bridge, winning 1-0 for the first time in years, I think we'll go back to that tried and tested setup, which has seen us victorious over Chelsea the last couple of occasions. Credit to Mikel Arteta, because his big game record since joining Arsenal has been fantastic. I think the only big team he's not actually beat in the league is Manchester City, but obviously we did beat them in the FA Cup on the way to that win. So for my predicted 11, obviously I'm going to start off with Bernd Leno. Leno's going to be our number one goalkeeper for the foreseeable future, at least until Ramsdale is completely settled at the club. Assuming everything gets signed, sealed and delivered, I can imagine Ramsdale starting against West Brom in midweek, but until then, Leno's going to be my number one goalkeeper in the Premier League. Now defensively, we know that Gabriel is still injured, so I think on that left-hand side, we're going to start with Pablo Mari. Against Brentford, Mari had a really indifferent game. You know what he can do in terms of ball playing, but defensively he was not the best, and the Brentford attackers really looked to take advantage of his lack of pace. Now against Chelsea, it remains to be seen whether we'll stick with the high line or maybe sit a little bit deeper. But I think the concern is, with Lukaku potentially making his debut for Chelsea, Mari could be dominated if we stick with the back four. In that right centre-back role, we're going to stick with Ben White. That right-hand side of the back three is where Ben White really excelled for Brighton last season, so he will suit this system down to a T. He had some issues against Ivan Toney last week against Brentford, so again, that could be a concern against Lukaku. But hopefully, with this back three in check, they'll all be able to cover for one another. And then in the centre of that back three, I'm going to go for Rob Holding. Now, while Rob Holding is nowhere near the best defender on the ball at the club, he's probably our best centre-back in the air. Plus, we've seen in the past some of his best games have come against Chelsea. So hopefully Rob Holding can put in a solid performance. Again, I think it's going to be so tricky against one of the best strikers in the world in Romelu Lukaku. I think everyone from now, let's start praying that Lukaku doesn't start. Let's hope he's on the bench. Let's hope we can try and keep Chelsea quiet for as long as possible and maybe try to get a lead so that he can't come and damage it for us. Now, moving into midfield, I think we already know our centre midfield partnership. In my mind, Sambi Lokonga and Granit Xhaka will definitely start against Chelsea on Sunday. Now, in my opinion, Lokonga was one of our better players against Brentford last weekend. I think on the ball he was fantastic, particularly in the second half. He always looked to progress things, and everything he done was sort of silky smooth. And I'm hoping that that's a sign of his potential long term. As for Granit Xhaka, he was captain last weekend. His future seems to be with the club, so he's definitely going to start and probably take the captain's armband once again. Now on the left-hand side, doesn't matter whether it's left back, left wing back, left wing, left striker, Kieran Tierney's going to be there. Our flying Scotsman was our most dangerous player against Brentford. He put in 6 key passes, creating our best chance as well for Pepe in that second half. Now us Arsenal fans know exactly what we're going to get with Kieran Tierney. 110%, up and down the pitch, a quality of delivery which is probably the best in our team. Plus, last time out at the Emirates against Chelsea, he kind of gave Reece James some nightmares. I think the one we're definitely going to go with on this right-hand side is Bukayo Saka. Now, assuming he's 100% fit given his lack of pre-season and his return late from international duty, I think he's always going to be one of the first names on our team sheet. He played that right wing-back role for England during the summer tournament really well, and we've seen him do it for us on a number of occasions, notably at Stamford Bridge as well. Plus, I think, given the guy I think will start in front of him on that right-hand side, Nicola Pepe is our biggest goal threat with Aubameyang potentially out. It really wouldn't surprise me at all to see Bukayo Saka start on that right-hand side. As I mentioned about Pepe, he's got an extra responsibility on his shoulders with no Lacazette and probably no Aubameyang starting. He was our most experienced attacker against Brentford and he really did not play well whatsoever. So I'll be really looking for him to bounce back, hopefully with a goal, maybe 2. And as you may have seen in the last video, I actually predicted Pepe to be the club's top scorer for this season. So, you know, let's hope he can start the season with a couple of goals at home. Emile Smith-Rowe is 100% going to start on that left-hand side of the attack. Both him and Tierney really didn't deserve to lose against Brentford. Their performances were exceptional. Smith-Rowe in particular was our driving force through the middle of the pitch, and notably had his shot well saved in the second half. So with hopefully a little bit more freedom on that left-hand side, given we'll have a lot more defensive security and Tierney overlapping him, I think we'll see a lot more creativity and in particular freedom for Smith-Rowe to sort of drift into pockets of space and create those chances for our attackers. And while it was a really difficult position for Balogun to just be thrown in sort of at the last minute against Brentford for his first Premier League start, I really wouldn't risk him here against Chelsea at all. He's a high talented prospect, and in my personal opinion, I would hope that we can send him out on loan before the end of the deadline. But throwing him in against the European champions is just way too much, way too soon, no matter how talented he is. So at striker, I'm going to be going for Gabriel Martinelli. Again, we've seen in the past that he can pull it out against big teams. He scored that exceptional goal against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. And he won't have liked how quiet he was against Brentford. He barely got a touch of the ball, barely got into any dangerous positions. And knowing the way that he plays on the pitch, he's not going to let that rest. So I think given the fact that Lacazette is still recovering from COVID and Aubameyang's likely, in my opinion, not to start, I'll definitely give that starting role to Martinelli, play him central. Last week against Brentford, we saw him on the left and he was quiet. And hopefully, with Smith-Rowe picking up pockets sort of behind the attackers, we can create quite a few chances for Martinelli and Pepe. The key for this game for us is obviously going to be defensively. If Lukaku starts, we could be in big, big trouble. We already heard today that Christian Pulisic is going to miss the game since he tested positive for COVID-19. So it's just going to be about who they surround Lukaku with. Will it be Havertz? Will it be Werner? Will it be Hudson-Odoi? You imagine that Mason Mount is probably going to start as well. And given everything in recent months, with Chelsea winning the Champions League, with them winning the European Super Cup, and a fantastic 3-0 win against Patrick Vieira's Crystal Palace on the opening weekend, they're 100% going to be coming to the Emirates with full confidence. So this game is going to be a real big test for Arteta's game plan, particularly against Tuchel. But we've been successful against Chelsea in the past. Who says we can't do it again? So there's my 1 to 11 predicted lineup for the Chelsea game on Sunday. As ever, let me know in the comment section down below who you'd start, who from my lineup you think might not start, as well as giving me your opinions on how the game's going to go and what your score prediction might be. On the subject of predictions, unfortunately, I can't see us winning this one. I just think Chelsea are too strong for us at the minute. So I have to go for a 2-0 Chelsea win. I honestly hope I'm wrong. We'll hopefully have the Emirates packed out on Sunday, making lots of noise to get behind the team, and hopefully we can pull off the surprise. But I just think we've got a really tough start to the season, and obviously we didn't start well against Brentford. It's really hard to see us gaining the sort of confidence and creating the amount of chances we're going to need to create to beat Chelsea. And that just about wraps up today's video. Once again, thank you for watching. The support on the channel so far has been amazing, so I appreciate each and all of the viewers, subscribers, anyone that's commented. Thank you so much. As always, if you are enjoying the content, feel free to hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. And also in the description down below, there's a link to my Twitter and also a link to my Twitch channel as well, where I've been streaming some Football Manager content. I'm in Season 3 of my Arsenal save, so come over and join me as I try to win the Champions League for the club for the first time. Be sure to enjoy the game wherever you're watching. I'm actually at the Emirates, which I'm so excited for. I can't wait. Full house. It will be my first competitive game since one of Emery's last games in charge in the Europa League in 2019. I think it was against Vitoria. So I can't wait to get there. The first home game of the season is always incredible, and we saw how home fans affected some of the performances last week especially. So let's hope the fans can get behind and we can get a positive result against Chelsea. And if I don't catch you while I'm live over on Twitch or over on Twitter, be sure you're subscribed to the channel for more Arsenal content. My next video will probably be on Monday, which will be a review of the Arsenal-Chelsea game. Fingers crossed it's a good result. As ever, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you for the next one.